I'm Sherilyn Skolnicki, and this is Brilliant Balance, the show for working women who are ready to shine. Each week, I bring you ideas, inspiration, and insight on balance, business, and getting it all done gracefully. You ready? Let's be brilliant. This is episode 376 of the Brilliant Balance podcast. And today we're talking all about clarity, or how you can see the path and make your move. So happy New Year, my friend. Thank you for tuning in to the show as we kick off a brand new year. I don't know about you, but I love a fresh start. I love the opportunity to begin again, whether that's a Monday or a morning or a January. It's always one of my favorite things. And I thought that we might kick off this year of the podcast with a short series on momentum. I'm calling this the Momentum Map. I'm going to share 3 keys with you that will really be essential to helping you move your life forward over the next 3 weeks. And then on Friday, January 17th at 1 p.m. Eastern, I'm hosting a free vision and goal setting workshop. Why? Why am I doing this? Because we all say that we're going to create a plan for the year with the best of intentions, but so rarely do we actually do it because life happens. By the first or second week of January, we are already elbow deep in a very long to-do list. We remember exactly why these things haven't happened in the previous year. And then before we know it, it's February and then March and then April. So we're going to put a little intervention in on January 17th. And you are going to join me for a vision and goal setting workshop. There is a link to this right in the show notes. So remember, what gets scheduled gets done. I want you to get this on your calendar. You also can go to the website at brilliant-balance.com/courage, because we are calling this workshop Clarity and Courage for 2025. I have really learned over 15 years of working with women leaders what it takes to design the next level of life. Not only to design it, but then to build it and to sustain momentum toward making it your reality. And I'm going to lead you through that in this workshop. So I want you to get this on your calendar. Again, the registration link is in the show notes below, or you can go to the website, brilliant-balance.com/courage, and get yourself signed up. So today, in this episode, I am going to unpack the first key to building momentum. And it's really all about getting clarity. And I'm going to talk a little bit today about why I think clarity is so important when we are embarking on anything new at all, and why I think we struggle to have it, like why it's so elusive, and then what you can do about it. That's kind of the structure of today's episode. So maybe grab a pencil if you feel like you want to jot a few notes to yourself about this. If you're in the car, do not grab a pencil, right? This will be there for you later. But I want to just talk at first about, why does clarity matter? It is one of the things that I think we instinctively know that we want. Maybe we know we need it, and yet it's kind of hard to get. It's hard to have. A lot of people would say, I don't feel like I have clarity about what it is that I want or where I'm going. And the first reason that I think clarity is so important is because no one will steer into a fog, right? Our direction really determines our destination. If we know where we're going, then we know what direction we are going to move in. So without clarity, you don't know where to steer. You can't align your energy with your goals. And, as I heard that come out of my mouth, I actually think I would invert it. I think I would say your destination should determine your direction, right? It works both ways. Where you are steering, the direction you're going, is going to determine where you end up. But also, if you know where you want to end up, it can inform the direction that you sort of turn yourself. So without clarity, without knowing where is it that I want to go or what is it that I want, you can't really align your energy, your presence, your focus with your goals. It's just not possible, right? And so the risk is very real that you'll sort of be spinning in circles or having a lot of fits and starts if you don't know where it is that you want to end up. So clarity is a tool, a really important tool that helps us figure out what do we want to steer toward. maybe you've had that experience where you got a moment of clarity on, I think I know exactly what I want. And then maybe you take one action in that direction, and then action begets action, right? And you start lining up your actions in a row because you know where you're going. And I think the second reason clarity is so important is that clarity is one of those things that creates confidence, right? Knowing what our next step is really can reduce overwhelm, and it can pull us out of indecision. So you know that feeling where you're kind of waffling, you're not sure, like, oh, do I do this or that? Do I really want to do it or not? We don't have clarity we don't even sometimes have a decision-making framework to get to clarity. And so we don't feel very confident about decisions that we might need to make to say yes or no to something. And when we have that clarity, when we're like, yeah, that is the story, I'm going to live the story I want to tell, is something I've been saying lately. If that's the story that I want to be telling, then I have a sense of clarity about what I need to be doing. So that clarity is what gives us the confidence to take action. And clarity also helps to save time and energy. It's like a conservation tool. Why? Because the clear idea points you in a direction in a way that eliminates like unnecessary detours, right? If we're not sure exactly where we're going to go, think about how your path can kind of wobble. And you can make a literal translation here to kind of illustrate the point. If you think about being in a car and not being entirely sure where you want to go next. Have you ever gotten in your car and thought like, I just need to get out of here for a while? And you're not very efficient in getting from point A to point B if you don't know what point B is. So you might wander around the streets of your neighborhood thinking, oh, do I want to go out this exit or that one? And then you start toward maybe one store or shopping area and you're like, oh, I don't really feel like doing that. I'll go this other way. And like you're losing a lot of time, right? In just kind of driving off course because you weren't sure where you were going in the first place. So a really clear vision, a clear idea helps you determine the direction you're going to set off in. It gives you confidence in your choices, and it saves time and energy over the long haul. But it's not easy to find. I think if it were, we would all be a lot more efficient in our pursuit of our goals. And I was thinking about why it is that it seems so elusive. And I think there are probably lots and lots of things at play here. You can probably think of some immediately. The first one that came up for me was that there are just too many options, right? We're living in a world with infinite possibilities, and that can create decision paralysis. I think we're pretty good at making A or B choices. Do you want A or B? You want to get sushi or Mexican tonight? And you can kind of make that decision. But as soon as we say you can have anything you want, the decision making starts to get muddled. So when we have a lot of options in any particular chapter, we can really struggle to get to clarity because we have to know what we want, right? We have to know what we want. And I think that brings us to the second reason that we struggle to have clarity, which is external noise. Other people's opinions, their expectations of us, kind of the societal pressure or societal norms can really drown out our own inner desires. And so that is a block to clarity, right? When there's a lot of noise coming at us or that we're internalizing, it's harder to be clear about what we actually want, right? It's buried in there somewhere under this pile of everybody else's opinions, everybody else's desires, and the still small voice of our own that knows what we actually want can get sort of drowned out in that environment. So external noise, I think, is definitely an inhibitor to clarity. And then the last one I was thinking about is just, there's probably a lot of fears, but I'm going to say the fear of choosing incorrectly, right? We avoid the power of clarity because making a commitment can feel really risky. So we like to keep our options open. And when we keep our options open in the short term, we feel safe because we kind of have hedged our bets. I could still do this or that. I have options. I don't have to pick, not closing any doors. And that can give us a false sense of security because, again, what it's likely going to lead to is splintering our efforts and kind of spinning in circles. So we will make less forward momentum, forward progress ultimately. But in the short term, at the beginning of the journey, it can feel better because it feels like we've got options and we haven't closed any doors, right? So I think we struggle to get to clarity because we have a lot of options and a lot of opinions rolling through our heads and a lot of fear that we are going to choose incorrectly, that we're going to end up choosing something that turns out not to be the very best option, or that like we'll change our mind and we won't know how to back out of it. But it's so important to have it that I want to talk a little bit about what we can do about it, right? What can we do when we know we need clarity, right? What's kind of a mechanism that we can use? I want to talk to all my fellow business owners and introduce you to my friends at Mackie. They are experts in providing CFO services that give you the clarity and confidence that you need, not only to succeed, but to make those strategic decisions that transform your business. Listen, running a business can be stressful, and trust me, I get it. You always want more time away from work to do the things you love, but you also want more profit. And that's where Mackie comes in, with their full-service financial, accounting, and executive guidance. With their Prosper for Business system, you'll have a trusted partner by your side, combining strategic planning, data analysis, and goal setting to help you grow further, better, and faster. And their results speak for themselves. Mackie's clients experience an average first-year profit increase of over 100%, and business owners report a 20% increase in time freedom. So start your journey to prosper today. Visit mackieadvisors.com/brilliant balance and book your consultation. Okay, balance builders, any chance you're feeling a little overwhelmed by your overloaded schedule? I know, I've been there. In fact, it's why I created 14 Days to Calendar Control. This is my step-by-step program where I share my personal system and set of tools to help you transform your chaotic weeks into easy breezy ones. Okay, maybe not easy breezy, but at least edited and organized. Listen, there's training, templates, and tools in there to help you get things under control quickly. Say goodbye to constant conflicts and chronic rushing, and say hello to calendar control. Curious? Head to brilliant-balance.com/calendar for instant access. That's brilliant-balance.com/calendar. Now back to the show. And this is like the most important part of what I'm going to share today. And I think the first most important thing that we can do to find clarity is to define our priorities, to really know what matters to you in this season of life, right? And that is harder than it sounds because, again, we have a lot of other people's opinions kind of coming our way. But the ability to get very, very clear about what our priorities are right now, even maybe in the face of judgment or disagreement from other people, that side eye, I'm like, really? That's what you want? Yes, this is what I want. That knowing what our priorities are will just drive clarity faster than anything I know. And our priorities are often rooted in our values. So if you're not clear what your priorities are, or you feel like you have too many of them, you can come back to your values as a starting point, right? What do I actually value? What am I going to put ahead? And what am I going to allow to fall behind when I'm thinking about choices in my life? So that willingness, if you're not all the way to a crisp, like a clear path forward, this can be a precursor, is to really get clear about what are my priorities or what are my values. And then I think that gives you the ability to kind of create a vision, but painted in what I'll call broad brushstrokes. I think it's not always easy first to have a really crisp vision, and that's kind of the next step. But first, just broad brushstrokes of what does a better life or the ideal life or a better version of a particular vector of your life look like. So let's use an example. If you know that you are super frustrated about your career trajectory, right? You don't like your job, or you feel stuck and stagnant, or you feel like you're blocked from getting ahead, or you can't grow the business if you're an owner. If you're feeling a lot of stuckness around your work life or your career, the first piece of this define your priorities is to really understand, well, kind of what would the essence be of a better work life? And then to create a vision in broad brushstrokes, right? So, okay, today I work from home and I don't have a lot of human interaction and I'm on Zoom meetings all day and I have a lot of spreadsheets to fill out and there's always data that my boss wants and like none of that is aligned. What I really have is a vision that I would be, this is not my example, right? But I have a vision that I would be like out and around other people. There would be a lot of human interaction in person, that I would get to spend time outdoors and less time in front of a computer. You can see how in broad brushstrokes, that's a vision of something that might be different. And then third step, you can add the details. So adding the details or kind of coloring in the outline of the picture is where you probably will need space for reflection, for thought, maybe even for some alternate modalities like meditation, right? Or reflective journaling, where it, the ideas sort of they bubble up from within you. That's not like you're chasing them down. You're allowing them to sort of emerge. I love a solo walk for this, going out for a walk with no stimulus, like no podcast in your ears, no music playing. It's a great time to kind of let the picture emerge. And then you can fill in all the juicy details of that vision. So new pictures, kind of new ideas and details might start coming to you as you're dancing with that idea of a job that's less time in front of a computer, more time outside, more human interaction, right? You might see different vectors of that emerging as you add in the details. The more clear you are about what you want, I'm not even going to call it the end state because I think that's too scary, but the next state to look like, right? The more clear you are on what you want the next version of life in this vector, so we're talking about work, to look like, the better it's going to go for you in the next step in terms of actually creating momentum in that direction, right? Toward that goal. So I used an example from work, but you could easily look at this example in a relationship. You could look at your marriage or your partnership. You could look at a relationship that you have with a parent or one of your children. You could look at your health and your sort of sense of vitality through this lens and say, let's take that one. Let's take health and vitality and look at it and say, how am I feeling? Like, what's my baseline for how I'm feeling? And if there's data that you can put into that of like the kind of current starting point, all the better. But then that next question in broad brushstrokes, right? What do I want this to look like or feel like? And really starting to wrap your head around the imagery that comes to mind, right? That maybe you're struggling with your strength and you are like, I want to be able to lift things. I want to be able to like be in charge of my stuff and move the furniture around. Or, I want to be able to go on this really, like assertive hike that I wasn't able to do the last time I tried. And I want to be able to really get to the top of that mountain that I'm climbing. It could be that you want to run in some kind of competition. Like I want to do a 10K or I want to do a marathon. Having a clear, like really broad brushstroke vision of what you're steering toward will then help you fill in the details. What else do you see in the picture? Right? The person who's doing that, the version of you that you're becoming, what other details do you see in that picture? So all of this week's step that, the kind of big idea that I'm planting in your head this week through the podcast is that everything you want to do this year, everything that's going to be possible for you really begins with clarity. This is step one. Without having clarity about what it is that you want, you will feel directionless. You'll be kind of wandering in the desert, spinning in circles. But when you have it, when you take the time to get to this first step and you really know where you're trying to go, then you can keep your eyes on the prize even when there are distractions or detours along the way. So I want you to ask yourself, how clear is your vision for 2025, right? If it's not clear, if it's a little murky, what did you hear today that can start to bring you more clarity? And then that is something I would say you can bring with you to the live workshop on the 17th, because we are really going to be working on the vision and the goal setting for this year to get you what you want, to design this next chapter. So clarity is going to be first. Give that a little bit of thought this week. Like, don't just, wrap up this episode and move on. Really sit with those questions around clarity in several of the vectors of your life. And then come back next week to the podcast for part two of a 3-part series, remember. And next week, I'm going to be talking about courage. So this momentum map has 3 components. This week was clarity. And then next week, we're going to talk about courage. And already you can start to see how courage is going to be important in making any change in your life, right? So often we think we want something and then immediately fear sets in and we're like, yeah, I didn't think I want that so much anyhow. And that's what we want to avoid. We want your life this year to look different if that's what you want. We don't want a repeat of last year, and it's going to take clarity and it's definitely going to take courage. So next week, we're going to unpack that a little bit, and then we're leading you toward that workshop on the 17th. So make sure you're registered. And thanks for listening today. First episode of the new year. That's all for today, my friends. Till next time, go be brilliant.
This is the podcastfactory.com.